alert. Griff, go ahead.
Kim Jong-un and South Korea's President Moon Jae-in meeting overnight. This is President Trump teases that his face-to-face meeting with Kim Jong-un could still happen, and it could still actually happen in Singapore on June 12th. Here's the president.
We're going to see what happens. We're talking to them now. It was a very nice statement they put out. We'll see what happens. It could even be the 12th. We're talking to them now. They very much want to do it. We'd like to do it. We're going to see what happens.
Now, I wanted to give that soundbite just because we are in the midst of cascading events, right?
Yes.
South Korea and North Korea stopped talking to each other. Then North Korea didn't show up for the planning meeting for that summit. The president sent that letter, pulls out. But now this meeting just north of the DMZ in North Carolina with President Moon.
North Korea, you mean?
In North Korea, sorry.
He's got
barbecue on the mind.
I do. It's very significant because we are told, and this is initial reports, that they did discuss the summit still taking place.
So we've got the photos coming into our newsroom. This is breaking news. This is the first time the two leaders have met, as you said, Griff, since the president pulled out of that meeting. You remember this all started back in April, the first time these two leaders met. They met on the DMZ, but it was South Korean soil. It was the first time Kim Jong-un stepped foot on South Korean soil in decades. This time, overnight, the meeting happened, as we're told, still at the DMZ, but on the North Korean side. Yeah. So we don't know exactly what was said in this meeting between these two leaders, but what I will say is the president of South Korea talks all the time with President Trump. They know exactly where they want to go with this summit. They want to communicate together on this. So it's really important to make sure they're on the same page, talking with Kim Jong-un, because they've got to have the same understanding of what it means to denuclearize. That's what it's all about.
And you can play a little good cop, bad cop. You know,
right.
You're working together on this, but it's clear Kim Jong-un wants that meeting with President Trump.
Right.
I mean, this is a reiteration of that. Okay, we'll come back to the table. Oh, just kidding, all that bad stuff we said about John Bolton, all that bad, we'll take that back. I mean, ultimately, President Trump is setting the terms of this discussion because the end state is a really, really, really difficult one, which is getting a brutal, terrible dictator to actually give up his nukes.
Right.
I mean, that doesn't happen.
Which would be very difficult if you give the context. Remember, this all starts in 1994 with Bill Clinton, and we've essentially appeased North Korea.
Yes.
They've tried to say they're going to back away. But now we're talking about the most historic meeting between the President of the United States, the leader of North Korea, and actually bringing peace on the Korean Peninsula. But here's the thing. The letter was the first time you've had direct contact between the President of the United States and the dictator of North Korea. And clearly that had some impact here because you've got Kim Jong-un and President Moon meeting early this week.
And that direct contact is so important because up until this point, they've only been communicating via our media outlets. And you mentioned John Bolton, Pete. And that is why it's so important that we communicate exactly what we want to North Korea and vice versa. Because when you have folks like John Bolton and even Mike Pence talking about the Libya operation, that can get us in trouble because the way the North Koreans see it is, well, Gaddafi was killed in that operation. That's obviously not how we want this to end. So now President Trump, when you listen to his tone, he wants this summit to happen. He wants to make this work. Now he's talking to Moon Jae-in, the president of South Korea, saying, communicate with him exactly where we are on this, and let's see how we can move forward, where we can go from here.
And when you read that letter, it was clear it was dictated by President Trump. I mean, that was in Trumpian form with the blunt statement of we've got massive nukes and we don't want to have to use them if we don't need to.
But we will.
But we know you got our phone number. Call us if you actually want to. It's inside the psychology of Kim Jong-un. He has to actually believe we will attack them. That we will bomb North Korea to prevent that. And if he does, then he'll come to the table and say, all right, let's figure this out.
And that is the key, getting to the table. Now, Democrats, you saw Nancy Pelosi and others have criticized the president for basically giving Kim Jong-un what he wants. He wants international status. He wants to be seen, and he's, having to essentially give up nothing other than shutting that nuclear site, which we don't have any proof that it actually did do anything. But, the fact that this letter and these events, the way the president and this White House has strategically played it, has gotten them to the table. It was called off by the president. Now, you see these talks. You're going to hear a lot more about this story this weekend.
And don't forget,
this is a development that is very significant.
And you talk about all the pieces that are involved and what a delicate balance this is. We haven't even talked about China. And China continues to be probably the biggest part of this whole deal, this part of this this conversation because they're the ones that are working with North Korea. They keep North Korea afloat. I mean, China is a very big role here. A lot of people suggested it was because of China ultimately that caused Kim Jong-un to back off or to say some of the things that he said that made President Trump walk away from this thing. So it'll be interesting to see how China responds to this, if North Korea will then meet with China before this ultimate summit. There are a lot of things at play here and a lot of personalities.
Because the last time North Korea met with China, they came out singing a different tune.
Right.
Because
Remember
President Xi, exactly.
He took that train ride to Beijing.
A lot of different moving parts here, but you look at that embrace right there. That's two peoples who have been pointing guns at each other for 70 years with a war that never ended. A lot of families separated by that DMZ that would love to see that denuclearization and even reunification potentially represents a lot of history, that photo.
So
right
everyone out there who says this thing has failed, that, you know, this is a failure on the president's part, let's be very careful because this is about potentially creating a lot more peace on the world stage. And you see these leaders there. This is breaking news happening overnight. These things take time. A lot gets put into an ultimate summit if it comes to that. A lot of it takes patience. So everyone needs to take a backseat here, let this play out, let diplomacy do what diplomacy does. And honestly, trust the president. That is his role. Trust the advisors around him. And you all want to hope for the very best here.